From the Ground Up, Season 2, Episode 1, Why Communities Stay Poor. Now, I believe there isn't a single person or a single group of people to blame. What I'm going to be touching on is what happens to money when it comes into the community. Does the money stay? Why does the money stay? Or does the money leave? Does the money have no option but to leave? And another thing we need to talk about is what is a community? What makes up a community? Is it grouped by age? Is it grouped by ethnicity? Is it grouped by religion? Is it grouped by a postcode? What is it that defines a community? What part of a community are we in? Now, I would personally say that communities don't lack talent. Wherever we look, especially in inner cities, we have pools of talent. But the communities where a lot of these pools of talents are from still remain broke. And broke is more subject to growth. It's not always about money. Is there growth in this area? If there are growth in this area or there are growth in these communities, how does this growth come about? So I would put it more down to communities being disorganized, unorganized communities where money has no other option but to leave. Episode 1, Season 2, From the Ground Up, Why Communities Stay Broke. Now, money flows through communities every day. But the question is, does it stay? Now, if you've ever sat back and wondered why there's money flowing through your community, but there seems to be no growth, the problem is it's not the intelligence of the people in the community, it's the structure. What structures are in place to ensure that money filters through the community before it leaves? Now, we've all heard of the saying, how many times money goes through particular hands of particular groups of people before it leaves their hands. Now, I believe the Jewish community have been more than likely the highest group of people to keep money in their hands consistently for the past 10 years. But we have to have a look at their habits and we have to have a look at the communities. Now, I got asked to do a job in Stamford Hill maybe last year, and I was shocked at how organized the community was. It almost made me feel like I had gone back in time and I was a kid again, like how I was when I was growing up in Walthamstow in the late 80s and early 90s. I could go outside, we could have our front door open, neighbors could have their front door open, shops were open, shops were booming to some extent. Everybody was spending money with each other. This was normal. And we didn't generally have the divide that we have in today's day and age. When I was in Stamford Hill, this is what I saw. I saw residents with their doors open. I saw kids playing football in the middle of the road, just like I had the privilege of doing when I was growing up. 20 kids outside, 10 doors open, and literally their own policing. All of these things is where you have to allocate money to. This is structure. How many businesses are on their high road? How many shops are empty? How many people can they go and spend money with before their money leaves the community? Now, I believe I remember the numbers, right? It was something like 15 sets of hands money goes through in the Jewish community before money leaves. I believe the Asian community is somewhere like 8, and I believe the Black community is somewhere like 1 to 2. So, but what we need to look at is where these numbers are coming from and why these numbers exist. Now, I'm not here to single out a group of people. Black people only make up 5% of people in the UK, but I believe Jewish people make up less than that. So we're looking at an extreme minority of people, even if it's 1 to 2%, but how do they keep their money flowing within their community? Now, some of the examples we need to look at, it's not about praising one community and putting down another. It's more about literally using this information to benefit our communities with whatever part of community we feel we are in. We're very lucky that in England, London, we have so many different communities living side by side, and these are people that we can learn from. So let's look at some information and look at some data on why groups of people are staying poor. I'm going to switch the camera, and this video is going to be more about young people. Now, I come online, and this isn't to single young people out again. So when I speak about groups, this is all about taking constructive criticism and learning how we can do better as a people and as a community. So I'm going to play this video and we can have a look at exactly what this man explains is going wrong with young people today. And there's of all ethnicities. I've noticed this. I speak to young members of my family about the same thing. So let's hear him out, yeah?
20-year-olds stay poor because they start trying to earn rather than trying to learn. They did a survey of high school seniors. 52% believe that they will be a millionaire by 25. It's delusion. You can try and roll the dice and have a 1 in 1,000 shot of being a millionaire in 90 days. Or I can guarantee that you'll be a millionaire in a decade. Which would you prefer? And so I want to give you a quick example of two guys about the same age that took two very different directions in life. One of them went to another guy who was a little bit older, tried to learn the basics of editing video, used the buddy to get a job interview, and he'd learned enough that he could get a job offer. This particular company had a huge suite of other people who were significantly more advanced. Creative director who's done multiple big brands that he had the ability to learn from. He gets a $60,000 offer, which is a solid amount of money for editing with basically no experience, who then, rather than accept the job, he asked for $3,000 more. Because what he thought he had to do was earn rather than learn. The business is obviously not going to do that. What this guy does is he starts trying to negotiate back and forth, wheels and deals, and then eventually gets a job to be the lead head honcho of video editing at some small business that has no other mentors, there's no other people ahead of him. He took the right hook in his career 12 weeks after getting into it, and now they're the ones who are trying to extract as much from him rather than coming into a business where he's the small man on the totem pole and he can learn from everyone else, which would maximize for his long-term net.
Right. So as we can see, this is an issue with one area of our community. Now, this is an issue of people just wanting to start at the top of something. I notice this all the time when I come online. I hear people talking about really huge job salaries. Now, I'm not going to act and say that you shouldn't be ambitious. Of course you should be ambitious. But you can go around trying to extract as much money from a company as you can. Now, if this company is a part of your community, I'm not saying that they owe you anything, or I'm not saying that you should be working for free, but it's not about extraction. This is where we're all going wrong. We come into environments, relationships, negotiations, thinking to ourselves, how much money can we extract from something? But extraction obviously means that there's a hole. So the moment that you do that, you're generally going to be left in an issue. Now, running a business has taught me something, right? It's taught me that money doesn't build communities. Circulation does, right? Productivity needs to circulate. Money needs to circulate. Output needs to circulate. And obviously knowledge, information, this needs to circulate. In the video, he talks about the factor of learning. Yes, he uses video editing as an example. Someone just out of university, they're going to want to learn from someone that has 20, 30 years experience, right? And like he said, if this person isn't present, even if you got the $63,000 a year, what is there in terms of growth? Unless you're looking for other avenues to learn while you're on the job, like the internet, YouTube tutorials, etc., but you're still going to need to be tapping into someone and be tapping into a community. This is very important. Group economics. This is something that I speak about on my social media a lot of times. You need a collective of people thinking and acting a certain way, yeah? So as we spoke about, how long does money stay in a community before it leaves? We use the Jewish community as an example. Money exchanges hands within the Jewish community 15 times. What does that mean? How does it exchange hands within the Jewish community, which has a smaller community group than almost everybody else? How does it exchange hands 15 times? Because we have so many different forms of productivity. We have so many different forms of production. We have so many different forms of output. So whether we've got someone owning a bakery, we've all got to eat. Whether we've got someone owning a butcher's, once again, we've got someone owning an electrician company, labouring companies. Then we've got accounts, finance companies. Then we've even might got loans, banking, property. So many factors that we need as humans, right? We all need somewhere to sleep and somewhere to eat. So a lot of the time, these businesses based around you needing somewhere to sleep and you needing something to eat are fundamental, especially within communities. So culturally, we all have our own food types. People get angry about is it cultural appropriation or whatever the word is? Let me know if I got it wrong or right. Where they talk about companies like Turtle Bay not being Caribbean owned companies. And they say that somebody's taken advantage of their culture or somebody's taken advantage of their community. However, are we putting ourselves forward to facilitate these huge restaurant chains that are all over the country? There's another one, is it Africana? I believe. I believe that gentleman is East African, but at the same time, it's the same ball game. Nando's. You know, we all thought Nando's was Portuguese, but then it was South African. I don't know if the owner's South African, but this is the same thing. If we are not doing this as a community, then how can we expect for things in our community to get any better, right? So when it comes down to me growing up in London, Brixton was a great example of what happens if money leaves your community too soon. Yeah, or what happens if money doesn't stay in your community for the people that have been in your community for a long time. I went out in Brixton a few years ago and I was one of two black men in a bar in Brixton. Everybody else, nobody else was black. But if we went back 20 years ago, would it have been that way? What happened? You know, people talking about gentrification, people talking about it, right? But we have to have some form of accountability ourselves. We have to be able to say, are we doing the best that we can do to make this happen, right? If we're not, then we kind of need to check ourselves, yeah? So as a community, we need to support our own shops, our own services, our own trades, our own professionals. We need to make sure that our money circulates before it disappears. If everything is outsourced, the money's going to disappear and you won't see the growth in the community. You know, the house prices in Stamford Hill now are through the roof. You know, crime's down, house prices are through the roof, and there isn't that many empty shops. If we travel through different parts of London, we're going to see half the high road empty, loads of empty shops, shops being empty for years, you know, but this is due to a lack of productivity or a lack of output or a lack of people being involved in these businesses that we need to survive as humans. Every single day, we can all spend money online, can all spend money on Amazon and wait for the parcel to arrive, you know, and then we've got these directors living abroad, being registered wherever they're registered, living in Monaco, taking big wages, and, you know, companies based wherever it is, Switzerland, Ireland, Luxembourg, and they're paying 0% in taxes, as we saw with the Manchester United owner who said what he had to say about immigration. But we need to adopt these levels of structure. We need to adopt these levels of organization, and we need to take hold of our communities and all contribute. So this is part of the reason that I believe communities stay broke. We don't just need income, we need ownership, and we need circulation and professions. So we're earning money locally and we're spending money elsewhere. These are the main causes. This is the main cause of why we're seeing no growth in our community. So from the Ground Up podcast, we're switching it up. Season 1 was all about the rules, the behavioral traits, and what we need to grow as an individual. Season 2 is more about collaboration, and it's more about groups, communities. Like, comment, subscribe, drop a comment if you want to have some input, share, and let's help each other be better and create content that lives forever. Peace out.